Good morning. This is Melodicinvestor. My name is Antoine, and I just want to come on and share a few thoughts about, since we're in the political season, my perspective as it pertains to real estate on the Harris plan. What her plan is to, I guess, get us back on track and get a robust economy and get us out of the, well, recession. I don't know if I'm going to call it that. Hasn't really been labeled that, but I think that most families would say that it is a recession. It's definitely hard out here, and it's not getting any easier at this point. So I just want to come on and give my thoughts about that. And I'm not an economist. Didn't go to school for that. Just got here on YouTube giving you my opinion. I have almost 20 years now being in the real estate industry, particularly on the investing side and managing side. And so I just wanted to give you my thoughts. Just in case you're wondering, for those of you who don't know, I did 10 years residential and almost 10 years in the commercial side of things. So with that being said, let me say that this is dream selling season, and a lot of politicians, whether you're right or left, because this is not like to bash on one side and not the other, because that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to just lay out the facts as best as my understanding of them and my experiences. I don't like to speak on things that I haven't done, but I would love to get people on that maybe or a little bit further than me, and then they can speak more better to that. But at any rate, to get into it, I know one of her plans she laid out was to give a $25,000 down payment to first-time home buyers. I don't know what the qualifications are for that. I know that Biden tried to get something like that, or was talking about something like that. And here's what I'll say to that as a person who has bought and sold many homes and just has experienced a lot in terms of real estate. Well, I wouldn't say a lot, but just buying a home and just what you go through in that struggle to do that, which I'm going to share my story on a video here soon. But at any rate, it sounds good in the moment, but the reality of it is, and I hate to say this, I really do. I really do hate to say this, but we got to be honest. It doesn't work. The intentions behind it, I believe, are very. I have taken at face value. I think they're good, but reality of it doesn't work. Case in point, if you were selling, let's just say a car. You were selling a car. We'll just say you were selling it for $5,000, but you knew the government decided to give everybody a $2,000 voucher to purchase a car. What would you do as the person who owns the car? Or if you made cars, you're a car manufacturer, right? And these are really cheap cars, right? We're not talking about new cars. You would raise the price $2,000. Why not, right? It's an easy money grab. Well, it's the same thing, That car wouldn't go for $5,000. It would now go for, $7,000. It's just how it works. I know there are other channels out there that get more into the weeds on the economy and economics and things of that nature, but just from a simple, basic level, it doesn't work. And to be fair, the government doesn't have a good track record on anything that they've subsidized. And I think that we've gotten so accustomed to subsidizing things. There are so many things that the government subsidizes to keep the cost lower for consumers. Food, certain things, and I'm not saying all subsidies are bad. I'm just saying, like, nothing's free, right? Someone's paying for it. And so if you give a $25,000, I don't know what you call it, voucher, down payment assistance, whatever you want to call it. It may feel good in a moment, but the reality of it is the people who already own, the prices for real estate would go up tremendously, and we call that inflation, right? When something just spikes like this, we've already experienced a lot of inflation over the last few years, and especially in real estate in particular, because that's what I like to talk about. The inflation that we've experienced was mainly because the Federal Reserve kept rates too low for too long, because we had that, that event that happened and during 2020, and it's a credible threat. They had to lower interest rates so the economy wouldn't lock up, and they did that. But the problem with that is they kept it low for too long. I mean, you can get people were refinancing their homes, and people were purchasing homes at historic low rates. And I don't think we'll ever see that again in our lifetimes. But if you got in at that time, good for you, because you more likely have, I know people have 2% interest rates, 3% interest rates. And so fast forward today, there's now this housing crisis, and the purpose of her giving out that incentive is to encourage people to buy houses. Problem is, there's a supply and demand issue, right? The people aren't moving, because if you have a 3% interest rate, why would you give that up to then go buy or to get a house at a 7 or 6% interest rate? It just doesn't mathematically make sense. You would keep the home that you're in and let that be an asset at this point and just ride that wave. And so, I think people are staying in their home longer. They're fixing them up just because it financially makes sense. It would be frankly dumb to get rid of that low of an interest rate. And so you have that across the board, everybody, right? And so I think a lot of the baby boomers who would typically, all their kids are off to college, maybe the grandkids off to college, gone, and they want to kind of downsize their home. But the problem is, if they give up the home they're in, even though it's bigger, they don't need all the space, they downsize into something more expensive at a higher interest rate, or something smaller, more expensive at a higher interest rate. It doesn't pencil out. Why would you do that? So you would just stay put and travel more. It's like, it's so, but what that does is, the family that has a young family like my own, who needs that standard house, that 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, maybe 1,800 square feet, give or take. Well, they can't get that. They can access that now because they call them the move-up buyer, the person, or move-down buyer and the move-up buyer, right? Because there's always, with every transaction in real estate, there's a sale and there's a purchase. So that's part of the reason why we had a huge tightening in our economy, is because, particularly on the real estate transaction end, because that's where the recession happened. Transactions weren't happening. People were staying put. And so a lot of real estate agents had to go find jobs, right? Or other jobs. I'm getting kind of in the weeds here on this Harris plan, but there's just it's so complicated, and I know that the intentions may be good, but I don't think it's the best thing for us. We need some better policies, and hopefully they'll get some. I don't know if they have, but hopefully they get some people who have real estate experience and qualified, because really what we need developers to start developing. And if you look at the chart, I forget the name of that chart that I can't think of the name of it. If it comes to me later, I'll add it in the show description notes. But it's a chart, and I used to get this chart years, especially on the multifamily side, and it showed a graph of development, and we've been behind developing for at least a decade, and I'm being generous. There's just not the supply, or the demand is not meeting the supply. So that's causing prices to just go through the roof. So if you incentivize a down payment assistance, even on top of that pent up demand, wow, you're gonna price people out. The second thing I think she talked about was price fixing. That just doesn't work on so many levels. And again, I really, really, really hate it to be the bearer of bad news or try it, but I want to be honest, and we got to look at this. We can't be emotional about this, even though sometimes it's hard, especially when you start talking about money and finances and investing. People can tend to get very emotional, and you tell them the right thing, and they fall for anything. And we don't want that. We want to be educated, and make informed decisions, and we don't want to fall for the first thing that they give us. Any politician. This is not to single out her, Kamala Harris. This is just what I've observed from what she said. Hopefully there'll be more follow up to this. I'm looking forward to it. I know a lot of people are, just because we want to know, what the plan is. But price fixing doesn't work just because, especially having experience with retailers and grocery stores and the commercial side of things, their margins are very thin and tight. Same with a restaurant. Margins are real tight. And I tell my friends, unless you have some novelty idea, a restaurant and those things, I would not recommend you go into that. I mean, you have to have something or be very niche at something that is something that just hasn't been done yet, or you're the best in your field at it, and people want to come eat your product or consume your product. But other than that, retailers and those type of things can be real thin margins. And I can tell you, just from working in commercial real estate, retail space is not cheap. We talked about triple nets and things of that nature. If you don't know about that, you want to know about that if you're looking to get into the commercial, renting a commercial space for whatever. But price fixing is where the government basically puts a cap on essentially whatever it is that you're selling. I know she mentioned groceries. Everyone talking about groceries because we all know how groceries have been expensive. But honestly, a lot of that has started to die down a little bit. Not all products, but I remember everyone was talking about eggs at one point in time, and people going out buying their own chickens and all that stuff. But they're starting to, if you notice, come back down. And I remember lumber was at an all-time high. And I know because we were in construction on one of our projects during that time, and that's starting to come down. That's almost below what it was. So I think a lot of it had to do with, it was inflationary, but it was a supply chain issue. It wasn't necessarily the supply wasn't there. It's just the process of getting it to the consumer there was issues there. So we know that doesn't work. I wasn't alive in the 70s, but I talked to, parents and, in-laws and all that. And they talked about, how they had to distribute gasoline. Like if you had odd numbers, you go on odd days or whatever it was. I don't know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then if you had even numbers, you went the opposite. That's a mess, right? That's what happens when the government gets involved in too much. So anytime a politician is saying we want to do this or X, Y, and Z, and not all of it's bad. You really just got to look at the details. Like, I think having some type of program where people can get housing is good, but in this instance, I think that we just need more time. Time is the only thing that's going to fix this market. Real estate, it can be very forgiving, but it's just not fast. So it needs time to kind of work itself out, and we pumped a lot of money and liquidity into the system, and that money is still washing around in there, so it needs to kind of just thin out a little bit. And only way to help that is to just give it time. And if, just like we see with eggs, it's starting to come back down. You gotta give things time, and the market will correct itself. So too much government intervention is not always a good thing. There are some good things that the government can come in and slap companies and things like that on the wrist, but I don't think grocery stores is a problem right now. Even though things are high, I really don't think that they're gouging people here. And that's, if you shop at Whole Foods or any of those places, obviously you're gonna pay. But everyone else and the rest of us, I don't think that's the issue. I think time, and I think one thing I would like to see more of is like encouraging entrepreneurship, small business, because that's really where it's at. I was watching EYL Market Mondays. If you guys don't watch that, highly recommend you watch Market Mondays. Troy, Rashad, and Ian, what those guys are doing is phenomenal to me. I think they're actually in Atlanta this week to do Invest Fest, which is one of the things I definitely want to get to at some point. I don't know if I'll be able to get to it this year, but they actually had Senator Tim Scott on, which is a different look. And you know, you may not agree with everything Tim Scott says, but we got to learn to digest the meat, pick the meat off the bone, and throw the bone away. We don't have to. We got to get out of this mindset that we have to agree on everything, because I don't believe we do. Um, what's it going to take to get the job done? Okay, we don't have to spend Christmas together, but we need to be able to come together and get work across the aisle on both sides and get things done for people, right? But Tim Scott basically laid out 3 points that I thought was spot on. He said there's only really 3 ways to get wealthy in this country: stock market, real estate, and uh, uh, owning a business. Stock market, real estate, and owning a business of some sort. He didn't say having a job. I'm not discouraging people who work. I work. What I am saying is that can't be all you do. Uh, if that's what you choose to do, fine. But, you know, for those of us who want to eventually do something else, or you want to spend your free time um, building something else on the side, I think you should do it. There's not many ways to accumulate wealth in this country: owning a business, investing in the stock market, investing in real estate. I personally have chosen real estate because, one, it's what I know, and two, I've seen what it's done for so many other people. Um, and it's a proven asset. I'm not against the stock market, but it's just not my expertise. Um, I may at some point get into the stock market. I am not right now. But, you know, when he said that, I agree with him. There's not a lot of ways, and those are definitely proven track. Those have proven track records. So, again, I just want to come in. I don't want to sit here and like, I don't want to be negative or anything like that. I just want to present the facts. But the facts are at this moment, those ideas are just that. They're just ideas. They don't necessarily work. Um, I stand to be wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just a guy here on YouTube giving my opinion and my lived experience. But I do know when the government gets into housing, they don't do a good job. You know, anyone who's had family that's lived in the projects, that was government housing, wasn't fun. My grandparents lived in it. I lived in it. Grew up in Oakland, California. I can tell you firsthand, it wasn't unpleasant. Let's put it like this: there was no Whole Foods nearby. There was no Trader Joe's. Um, so it doesn't work. They don't maintain it well. We need to encourage investors, small mom and pops, not these big hedge funds buying up these single family homes competing with Americans. I disagree with that. I think it's ridiculous. I think we need more small mom and pops to own real estate. You'd much rather deal with a real person than deal with a big company. Hedge funds can give two rips about anything going on in your world. So, you know, I'm not saying all mom and pop landlords are great, but a lot of them are, you know. And honestly, a lot of them, if you'd ask, hey, how did you do it? they would tell you exactly, hey, here's what you need to do, and show you what they did. So, anyways, this video is getting kind of long. I just wanted to come on, share my thoughts about the Harris plan, the economic plan that she's laid out so far. I'm hoping there we get some more details and color in a few things before this thing's all said and done. But unfortunately, right now, I just don't think that those are good ways. I will come back, leave more videos. I didn't cover Trump because, well, quite frankly, we know what his policies and we know how he will govern. And so, yeah. If you like this, please like it and subscribe. Talk to you later. Bye.